Mwamulowe. His first name, of course, is Kagiso. So I will refer to him, if he doesn't mind, as Kagiso throughout the program. Thank you for being with us. We are going to be talking about Zambia having played a pivotal role in the liberation of Southern Africa. Can you elaborate on Zambia's significance in this historical context and its contribution to the decolonization project? And thank you indeed for joining us this morning. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. My name is Kagosi, not
Kagosi.
Kagiso. Kagosi,
Okay.
like in a ghost. So you say Kagosi. Yeah, so
Okay.
sure. So very true. Zambia has, played a great role in the liberation of Southern Africa. And you cannot talk about Zambia playing an important role in the liberation of Southern Africa without talking about one man, the son of Africa, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. And this is a man who was Zambia's first Republican president. And he, after becoming the president of Zambia, he felt Zambia was not independent if the rest of its neighboring countries, and in this case Southern Africa, was not independent. So Zambia, through Dr. David Kaunda, made sure that it was a host to a number of liberation movements, starting from South Africa. You are talking of Mozambique, Botswana, you are talking of Angola, you are talking of that is Zimbabwe, all these, Namibia. They worked hand in hand with Zambia to have their liberation struggle become a successful, that is a struggle.
So we do know that Zambia provided refuge and support for numerous freedom fighters across Africa. Could you share some insights into the experiences of these individuals and their impact on Zambia's liberation heritage?
Yeah, so for example, you look at people like Joshua Nkomo from Zimbabwe, who was leading ZIPRA, which was Zimbabwe Revolution, that is a party. He fought his struggle from Zambia. And there's even a house known as Zimbabwe House, or the Nkomo House, just next to, that is Zambia's, that is State House. This was how much Kaunda, that is how much Kaunda that is revered or took the other Southern African countries as important, that is colleagues. And in this case, you talk of people like Oliver Tambo. Oliver Tambo had a number of safe houses in Lusaka. He at one time lived in State House. There was a time he lived in Karundi area, just within Lusaka. Then during the last years, that is before his demise, he found himself at a house known as Piri House, which is in Kelston. Piri was just a code name for purposes of security. So this house is found in along Great East Road, as you are going to the international airport and you are going to the eastern province of Zambia. And it was the only upstairs house in that area, and it was heavily guarded. And the mere fact that the Kaunda was able to give such expensive, that is, accommodation to the freedom fighters or the leaders of the freedom fighters also points something in terms of his humanity or sense of that is affection to other, that is human beings. You talk of so there is that Oliver Tambo House, which is along Great East Road. Then you're also talking of a number of houses which housed people like Thabo Mbeki, people like the former president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma. You're talking of the former president of Namibia, the one who just died recently. And even Robert Mugabe himself. There is a house which was declared as a national monument at Charimbana. And all these were safe houses which Zambia provided to the rest of Southern Africa to have their independence. I'll also tell you some of the experiences in terms of what was happening in Zambia at that particular time. You're talking of, Operation Green Leader, the bombings which took place in Chikumbi, that is some 25 kilometers away from the central business district of Lusaka. In this, during this time, that was around 1979. You had a number of bombings taking place at different places in Zambia. For example, you had bombings at Chikumbi. There had bombings at Kavalamanja, where most of the Zambian soldiers, Zimbabwean soldiers, South African soldiers, and in some cases even Mozambican soldiers died. You have got experiences like the bombings which took place right in town, just next to the place where I operate from. That is along Cairo Road. You have the post office which was bombed, where two Asians died together with their son in a bomb blast just near the post office. Then there were experiences like at the High Court. The South African apartheid regime and the Ian Smith regime were courageous enough to fly into the air, violate the airspace of Zambia and bomb even very sensitive places like the High Court, where there was a lion statue which was bombed. In Livingstone at Mosotunya, along Mosotunya Road, there were some snipers on the motorbikes. These were apartheid, that is snipers who were assigned to assassinate South African freedom fighters at Mosotunya House. Then you're also talking of Dambwa Central, where some South Africans were also bombed. Homes believed to have been dwellings for or safe houses for South Africans, and they were also bombed. That is just in Livingstone. And you talk of places like JZ camp, that is Josias Zaipapa camp, which was for it was a transit camp for the the Zimbabwean freedom fighters, just on the western side of Lusaka. You are talking of Nampundwe camp. There were also a number of Zimbabweans who died in Southerns. You are talking of freedom camp, which I talk.
All right. Can we move along due to time constraints? We know that Zambia's role in the liberation of South Africa reflects the spirit of Pan-Africanism. How does preserving this history contribute to fostering unity and solidarity, not only between the two countries, but across the continent?
So I'll start by, what happened in Zambia. Like I said earlier on, that Kenneth Kaunda believed in the freedom of all humankind. So the mere fact that Zambia was not free, it meant the other countries were also not free. So that's what pushed Kenneth Kaunda into making sure that even the other Southern African countries are also liberated. And what you see now is that we have got a SADC, a Southern African Development, that is a community, which is as a result of the works of our founding fathers in the likes of Kenneth Kaunda and the Robert Mugabes and the Nelson Mandelas and all these other heroes. So at the end of the day, you find that we are united simply because of that philosophy of what is good for me should also be good for the other person, and that is the basis of people living together. Otherwise, if we are going to look at each other as individual entities, at the end of the day, we are not going to have a solid SADC region that we have at present. But beyond that, that Kenneth Kaunda, and in this case, Zambia's leadership was very much involved in the formation of Organization of African Unity, which was championing Pan-Africanism. And if it wasn't for the role that Zambia played in championing the cause of, the independence of Southern Africa, we are not going to have a solid SADC. But at the same time, taking advantage of this forum, I would want to indicate that Africans, we should look at each other as brothers and and sisters. Otherwise, if we ignore this aspect, we'll start fighting each other, and at the same time, even those people, the enemy that is out there is going to take advantage of the situation, the disintegration.
Okay, we need to wrap up now. Let's leave you with the final question of the morning. Last year, the UNESCO General Conference approved Zambia's proposal to celebrate 50 years of Kenneth Kaunda's contribution to peace in Southern Africa. Can you tell us about the celebration and its significance?
This celebration is not just connected to the 50 years, it is also connected to the fact that this year, when we are celebrating Kaunda's 100 years, that is after his birth on the 28th of April in 1924. This year, we are also celebrating 60 years of Zambia's independence. But at the same time, we are also celebrating the 50 years of Kenneth Kaunda's contribution to global peace as prescribed under the UNESCO, that is programs. So what it is that, we are looking at the 23 years that Kaunda was active in politics and in a struggle for humankind, and that before he became president, and the 27 years when he was in power, and what he contributed to peace. Like it has already been, I've already pointed out, he was even a leader of the frontline states. So all these freedom struggles, the movements, they were being hosted by Zambia. So you find that at the end of the day, Kaunda contributed to peace, not just to Zambia, but also to the sub-region, and beyond the sub-region, he worked with the Kwame Nkrumahs of this world, the Julius Mwalimu Nyereres of this world, and all the other leaders to come up, the founding fathers, to come up with what we know as African Union today. And it is even good that even as we speak today, the translation of African Organization of African Unity to African Union was also, that is a part of the agenda that took place within Zambia in Lusaka. So we find Lusaka as, the beacon of peace. We find Kaunda as somebody who should be celebrated, and we are celebrating not just his 50 years of contribution to global peace, but we are also contributing to his works towards the entire humanity. You'll be pleased to note that Kenneth Kaunda was Zambia was one of the few countries that were very courageous to support China even on the international stage when it came to the voting at the UNESCO, the UN General Assembly. So you find that even in the annals of China, you find that Kaunda is also inscribed in their museums or their heritage of China.
All right, and that's where we have to leave it. Kagosi Mwamulowe Chinsali obviously was talking to us, and he is, let's just try and get his, he's Director Conservation Services under Zambia's NHCC and President of Zambia, ICOMOS. Thank you indeed for your time. Till the next time, as always, keep strong, go well, and keep safe. It is exactly 9:40 a.m. news and views on Salam Media. Do stay with us. Still more coming your way on the show on Salam Media this morning.